Good afternoon. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio. We are your source for news and entertainment and information.
Yeah.
You can also find us on television two different ways. Channel 182 on Charter Communications, which is local to North Alabama. You can also find us on Abundant Television, which is worldwide syndicated.
I watched it yesterday.
Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire.
Yeah.
And we also have a podcast. Make sure you check that out. netnewsnetwork.net. I finally got it. It took me
That takes some work.
3 nets in that one. So we're so proud to be with you today. We're also on all the social media sites. So we want to thank all of the folks who help us promote this show. We're definitely appreciative of that, very much so. I have one of my really good friends with me right now, Philip Gillen, who's with American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches.
That's right.
Good to have you on the show today.
Good to be here. It's a beautiful time of the year. Man, it's a great time of the year.
I'm ready for hot weather.
Well,
so I can thaw out.
I like the springtime. I'm kind of a springtime person.
We've not had a spring. It's been
it's
cold.
coming. Oh, I think this week, it's going to be pretty nice this week.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's getting green and blooming.
I love
and
green.
I love to watch the dogwoods bloom, and
Mm-hmm.
of course I know they're getting at the end of that cycle, but they're so pretty to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And my boys, of course, they go to a Christian school at Cornerstone in Rainsville,
Mm-hmm.
and we've had some discussion because they keep learning more and more about the little things like the dogwood tree and the curse that was on it, and
Mm-hmm.
so we had that discussion prior to Easter. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a beautiful time of the year, and of course we're past Resurrection Sunday now, and we got a lot of things coming. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I looked at the calendar. I don't think there's a thing on my Saturdays that's open till sometime in middle of May, and then I just hadn't written it all down on my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably got things there, and I haven't told you, but I'm about to go to Montana. I'm headed up there.
Never been to Montana. I heard it's beautiful.
Yes, I'm excited about that trip. I booked my flights last week. We're doing some training in cowboy churches up there.
Good.
Jimmy Holloman and Danny Bride and myself, we're headed up to pool those churches together and do some training, and I can't wait. But we have new churches sprouting up and doing good. And I just mentioned the one down in South Alabama, which is in the stockyard at New Brockton, and I was down there right before Easter and met with Todd Nichols, my dear friend. And I didn't tell you this either, but on the way back, of course, we talked about losing our friends and how grief weighs in on us. But on my way back, there was a time in, I don't know, the late 90s through about 05 or 06, I spent a lot of time with a family down there named Mixon in a little bitty community called Old Texas. And so Jacob has been there, but Jacob was really little. He didn't really remember it. Liz and I carried him there and stayed a weekend back when they were small, and they played in the creek. But he was so little, he barely remembers it. But they have a cabin there on land that I hunted on, but I learned to really love these people. They're just precious people, and the reason why you would love it is they go to an older church building there that's built like in 1834,
wow.
I believe it was.
Architecture on that is just
Well,
imagine.
they've even moved it, and the framework underneath it is these giant logs that have been hewn out together, and they've got wooden pegs driven down in between them. They drilled them out by hand. And so it's like a great hit. Their property is on the old federal road, but it's in the absolute middle of nowhere. There's a portion. Now listen, there is a government marker there to tell you where this old stagecoach stop was. The old well is still there.
Oh, wow.
Not only is the old well still there, part of the old building where passengers overnight stayed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a log building, and it's in rough shape, but it is still there. And there's a big marker put up by the government that talks
Mm-hmm.
about it, and you stop and read that. And you got to drive. You got to be intentional when you go to Old Texas, Alabama. It is, like I said, in the middle of nowhere. But I love that place, and I almost bought a house there back when Liz and I first got married. But anyway, now my friend Joel ended up buying that house, and uh, they're working on fixing it up a little bit. But up the road from that, there's another marker just a little ways up the road, and it says Middleton Cemetery. But then there's the government marker, and it
Mm-hmm.
said on this spot there was a band of Indians attacked this family, and they killed two young children that are buried in that, and they're buried. This is like in the 1850s or something.
Wow.
And so when you go there, and so I had Jacob was with me, and Miss Rita, who is the most precious lady, and she fixed a feast. And so we, after we'd met with Todd, we came back through there, and we stayed all afternoon, stayed through dinner, and then drove up to Prattville because I went to see another pastor in Clanton the next
Mm-hmm.
day. But that was quite a treat for him to get to see all. Of course, to me, I've been there and hunted and killed a lot of deer there and spent so much time with this family. It is like we are, and I haven't seen them in a while. So, I talked to you a little bit about this being overwhelmed a little bit with grief.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that did me so much good. I could not tell you how much good. And we didn't do anything big. We just rode around.
That sounds
And
like somewhere Phil and I would enjoy going.
that's why I was telling you, man, you have never seen anything like. If you just went down there, and you this is where the road from Virginia that came down through Atlanta that went all the way to New Orleans and
Mm-hmm.
Vicksburg. That that is the old federal road. It wasn't put there for the Civil War. It was put there for the Revolutionary War.
Mm-hmm.
And
I gotta
and,
go.
and you can the main dirt road through there.
Mm-hmm.
You can look off to the side of it, and you can see where the old road that's got trees growed up in it. You can see where it was. And that goes back hundreds of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I just every time I go down there, I just stand. I just say every time I go down there, I say, "I'm going to move here. I'm not going to leave here." I love but now you're 45 minutes away from the nearest Walmart.
Who cares?
So I'm telling you, there's some good stuff about it. But I loved him and Miss Rita, and they built. The reason why I got to know them is they built chicken houses
Mm-hmm.
back, and we put the equipment in them, and their neighbor Mac and Miss Linda Watson, and now JJ, their son, who's a grown man and got grown youngins, and
Mm-hmm.
and they have a farm next to them, and they used to trade work with each other, and still do. They help each other, but. Joel and Miss Rita have moved into Monroeville, where their daughter and grandkids are.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but they still have this really nice cabin. I mean, and Mac and Miss Linda's got something that I wouldn't even call a cabin. I don't know it's like a resort. Theirs is, and but nobody would know that place existed unless you went there and saw it and saw those historical markers.
Mm-hmm.
And this part of the world is where Curtis and Stephanie are from.
Oh, okay.
So if you go down there and you mention Mr. Buddy Cater, that's Miss Stephanie's father. They know him. What Mac? Let's see. I think Mac was it Mac? He went to school with him. I think one of them went to school with him.
Wow.
I think it was Mac. I think Mac Watson went to school with Mr. Buddy Cater, who's Miss Stephanie's dad. So it's not like you're not among friends, but man, what a blessing that was. And sometimes you just need to go somewhere where you can you need to have some encouragement. I can tell you, you can sit down and Jacob, who doesn't much like, he's not a big pot roast eater, but I'm telling you, they took some beef that was raised over at JJ's farm, and she made a pot roast. I've never seen Jacob eat so much, and of course she had a homemade pecan pie. There is not a better cook in this world.
Let's stop the show. Let's go.
There is not a better cook in this world than Miss Rita Mixon, and she's cooked for me numerous. And I wasn't expecting her to cook that day, but she had come to the cabin and cooked there, and said, "Well, I was kind of hoping y'all stay for supper." I said, "We'll stay for supper."
What is it with some women? Both my grandmothers were exactly the same. We're going to go into a commercial break. Can you believe half the show is already over? Oh. But I kind of mentioned this. So you could just show up at their house. Nothing is thawed out. I mean, nothing. And no microwave, none of that kind of stuff. They'd have a meal just out there with everything on it within 30 minutes. Yeah. And would be upset if you didn't eat.
Yeah, that's Miss Rita, and I'm telling you, and she's not just going to put anything out there. What she puts out there is, and more than half of it is she raised. Mm-hmm. You know, she's
that's the best food around.
She's your kind of lady. I'm telling you, if you ever went down there,
I'd want to move. Right?
You'd be like me. You'd be want to move down there. And every time I go, and I'd gone down there so much, I knew that property like the back of my hand. And when I'd go down there to hunt. Well, Joel would be busy. Well, I didn't even bother him. I'd just tell him I'm going over to so in case something happened, they'd know where to look for me.
Well, we're all looking for peace of mind. I mean, everybody is. I don't care what your affiliation is. Anything. Right. Everybody's looking for. Let's talk about that when we come back.
I do want to talk about that.
We'll be right back in just a few minutes. You hang in there. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community. Whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need, toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and my employees and I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. With everything going on right now, your rest is so important. That's why we're having the biggest MyPillow sale ever. Not only are my bed pillows as low as $19.98, but you can get the best body pillows ever. Regular $89.98, now only $29.98. Take your rest on the go with our Roll and Go Anywhere MyPillows for only $14.98. And we have our new couch and accent pillows. They aren't just for looks. They have MyPillow's patented adjustable fill that gives you that amazing MyPillow comfort. In this economy, you get the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code and you get deep discounts on body, couch, bolster pillows, and so much more, including my original bed pillows for as low as $19.98. Please order now while quantities last.
Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes.
Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. We are back.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio. We are your source for news and entertainment and information. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, as well as Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And you can also find us, we are on a podcast. You can see us right over there, netnewsnetwork.net. Thank you again so much for watching. I have my very good friend right here. It's Philip Gillen. He is with American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. We just discovered we were born in the wrong era.
Yes, that's
We
right.
should have been born 100 years ago.
That's right.
Oh boy, I kind of like conveniences now, though.
Oh yeah.
But let's talk about peace of mind. I think everybody's looking for peace. You're
Yeah,
hearing all this trashy news and stuff.
And Jesus talked about it right before he went to the cross. He said to his disciples something and it's in Luke, maybe chapter 20 or 21. And I was all of those things, right before Easter, I was reading all of those things again. And he said something about the peace that he offered, that the world had said no to it. You've already rejected it. You won't even hear it. And that saddens me. The greatest peace you can have is to have peace with your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And that's very simple. You ask him to come into your heart and forgive you of your sins. And then you have but there's always, we're living in a world that doesn't know anything about that peace. And we're always bombarded with negativity and things that trouble us, and we talked some about grief, and I'd be the first to tell you, having spent 3 years of burying people, for one reason or another,
It just compounds on you.
it just, and I wasn't prepared, especially when you start. I thought the worst of it was burying some of these young people that passed away from COVID, and I did a funeral yesterday of a man that was 51 years old, and
That's young
to me it was young, and I wasn't really close to him, but man, I'm close to his family. He was one of 6 boys, and the rest of them I'm pretty close to, especially 4 of those boys. And of course, one of them is Leon, who has done music for me for the last 14 years. The Lord put us together in ministry, and he's been like a brother. His wife is like my sister, and we have been all over the country together, all of us. There was times in the early days of our church when we ate together 4 nights a week, because we were doing those things you do that y'all have been doing at Lookout Mountain Cowboy Church. So the subject of grief, and I thought about it when I read where Jesus had gone to the garden to pray, and the Bible, some translations said he went a little further. Another translation said he went about a stone's throw away to pray. And when he finished that prayer, and that's the prayer where his sweat became as great drops of blood, when he finished that prayer, the Bible says he went back and found them asleep, and it says they were exhausted with grief. Now they did not understand what was about to happen to him. They had no idea about the beating and the things that were about to happen to him. They did and I've asked a couple of people, but I'm gonna ask some more. Why were they really grieving? Was it because of what they saw in their master, the one they had been following? I believe they felt his grief. And it's like a pastor. I don't care who you are. If you're a pastor that's worth your salt, you'll feel the burden of grief from the people. And it's not just death that makes people grieve. People grieve from broken relationships. They grieve from bad work situations. They grieve from financial hardships. There's a number of things that'll cause you to grieve. And I like I said, I didn't know that when I got this old that I'd be burying my friends. And to me, that I guess that's kind of weighed in on me, and to see what Satan does to people and how he wreaks havoc in lives. And well, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was just beat down to a frazzle, but thank the Lord, every time I saw one of my preacher brothers, and I've got them scattered all over the country, but there's a dozen or so of them that are as close to me as a
Well, it's a
phone.
close network for you
It
guys. And
is.
I would think one just kind of senses when something
They
is.
do, and I get phone calls, and of course I let it slip to Miss Pat Gauss, who is our lady in the office, and a precious lady she is. But I said, she asked me that question and said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm okay, Miss Pat. I'm struggling a little bit because I buried a friend that's not 3 miles from this studio where we're at right now, and I began to think, well, man, I just keep burying my friends too. It's none of it is easy, but when you and I kind of knew that it would be hard. Can I tell you a story about that? This was one of the most encouraging things. He has a really autistic granddaughter, and she's in her 20s, uh, and she's so special to me because the Lord really spoke to me when he got me to be where I'm at today. It was through that kid, and she's not audible. I mean, she's not verbal. She doesn't say things that are understandable. Rarely, ever, rarely. And but it was her and leading her around because he had called me, and this was back. It was back in maybe '07 or '08, somewhere along in there, that he called me. Maybe it was earlier than that, but he had called me and he said, "Do you have a horse I could put her on?" And I said, "Sure. I've got old Rocky here. He was just a big pony, and he was with me. He died when he was 35 years old." But I got her on that horse, and that's the way the Lord spoke to me. He was leading her around, and she began to look like an angel. And man, it was August, and the arena was dry, and my boots were covered in dust. And I looked down at my boots, and all I could see was where the teardrops was hitting in that dust, and it just broke me. But we're getting ready to do her granddaddy's funeral, and her mother, who I love dearly, her mother was trying to explain to her. Now, her mother is an only child, and she's got two daughters. She's got this one and another precious one that is a teacher at Collinsville High School. And I just won't say their names, but they're adorable people, wonderful people. But her mother was explaining to this autistic child what happened to her granddaddy. This one who doesn't speak recognizable words. And her mother said, Papa has gone, and she got choked up and she just stopped. And that child said, to be with Jesus, plain as day. And everybody's eyes went like that. So, oh yeah, you should have been standing there. I mean, it just floored me. It's like hearing from heaven. So I couldn't wait to get home and go to Hebrews chapter 13, where it says, "Many have entertained angels unaware." Yeah. So I went home and I've read that 100 times, and I still read it, and I still read it, and I think, thank you, Lord, for angels, because I'm one of those guys that is convinced that I've encountered them, and a lot of times don't recognize it. Most of the time, maybe you don't but a couple of times I've thought later, man, that must have been an angel.
I had those situations too.
Yeah.
And I would think, that was an angel.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one coming up, another segment about one that I entertained an angel.
Yes.
I was going through a real rough spot. We're going to have to call it a day.
Man, it seems like it just happens so fast.
When you're having fun.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I am your host of the Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment and information. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you so much for watching. We definitely appreciate it. See you next time, and check out the podcast.